Hey y'all, Monk Joseph here with the Broken Buddha. Today we're going to talk about Dim-Mak, and I'm going to talk again about that new time of day theory that I have. For those unfamiliar, Dim-Mak is the study of using the meridian system, like the acupuncture system, as a location striking map for martial artists. There are some systems that are more based around it, like American Kempo, Tai Chi Chuan, the other Wudang, a lot of the Wudang styles, and internal styles. But that's what we're talking about when we talk about Dim-Mak. And first, I just want to talk really quick. It's arguably was created by a guy named Zhen Senfeng around the 12th century. I personally don't agree with that because somebody would have noticed these things before then, at least one or two of them. To say that he founded the use of all the meridians for fighting is just, somebody would have noticed it before then. So that's all I really want to say about the creation of it. I accept that he may have created it, but it's just, I've seen that it's been recreated by him. It got recreated and brought up again by Earl Montague and other people of that era. And, hopefully it doesn't have to get recreated again for a while. But I see, those two guys, Zhen Cheng Fang and what Earl Montague did with the Encyclopedia of Denmark, they, did the same thing. They inquired as to a medical practitioner and combined their medical knowledge with their martial arts knowledge to figure out how to better locate points that'll drop somebody easier to be a more efficient martial artist. Okay, that being said, I'm going to move on to why. Here, I'll show you the chart real quick and explain what it is. The new time of day theory that I came up with was based on the fact that I've been studying it for a long time, and you have some time of day theory clocks that go from the odds like 11 to 1, 1 to 3, and then you have other time of day Dim-Mak clocks that go from like 12 to 2, 2 to 4. And as all these things are very unsolidified in science, they were all gained through observation and experience. But the best that I've been able to observe with this is that it probably looks something like this in reality, right? Where you have a peak from the odd into the, it's peaking on the evens, but you have the initiation on the odd, and then it dwindles down back into the meridian system 2 hours later. And don't worry about the elements at the bottom. That's for me. These are my personal notes. But this would be the best way, in my opinion, to understand a Dim-Mak clock or time of day theory, if you will. And all that means is, from a Western standpoint, if you're hitting somebody at midnight and their gallbladder meridian, real quick, just before I jump into that, what you're seeing when you see 12, this line here is 12 o'clock. This is the 12 o'clock hour. This is 7 o'clock is this line right here. This is the 7 o'clock hour. So what this means is that when you're hitting somebody in the gallbladder point at midnight or shortly before, shortly after, their gallbladder meridian is fully charged, overcharged, however you want to look at it. So stimulating it is going to overstimulate it, and only in that time of day. And it's more of a filling, cleansing, and healing cycle, but being used in a negative way. And when you hit that, it's going to overstimulate the gallbladder to release toxin and knock them out. There are things I'm not going to get into that you can do to boost this effect, and you could get their gallbladder to dump all the toxin and more than likely kill them. But that's not what we're talking about. I just want to talk about basic time of day theory. And so, but to get into this functionally, we'll use the heart like I did in the other video. If it's 11 o'clock a.m., you're not going to go, even though it's considered 11 to 1, it's considered a heart meridian time in a lot of styles, you're going to want to go for that spleen shot if it's exactly 11 o'clock. But if you're crossing like 11:30, like that's those gray areas that aren't touched on, in my opinion, when you're studying Dim-Mak time of day theory. Now, the reason why I don't give a lot of credence to modern time of day Dim-Mak theory is because you'd have to almost be either somebody living by the sun and moon, and I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute, or like a vagabond who lives by the sun and moon. Either way, you'd have to be somebody who knows midday based on where the sun is, not midday based on, oh, what is it on my, what does my watch say? Where does my watch say the sun is? Because especially now with like daylight savings time, it makes it impossible to have any actualization of what midday is, of what midnight is. When I'm doing a lot of my Qigong stuff, I have to look in my backyard to see where my iron limb pole, look at where the sun is pointing at the iron limb pole like an old school sundial, so I can get an idea of which one I should be doing for the Qigong, which direction I should be facing. And unless it's perfectly straight, it's not midday. And I mean, there's times like I think I looked at a fence post the other day when it was 1 p.m. and it was like, the watch says 1 p.m., but the sun says it's midday. So that's why you got to be careful using these things. You can't just memorize, a time of day theory like this and then look at your watch and be aware of what time it is. You have to be aware of where the sun is at all times. And you have to be aware of, I've only seen one lunar cycle Dim-Mak theory calendar thing or chart. I'll eventually find another one, but the lunar cycle plays an effect in it too. That's way beyond my understanding at this point of my Dim-Mak studies. But yeah, you'd have to know midday, and even like the midnight for the gallbladder meridian. When the sun sets at 8 and rises at 4 ish, yes, 12 is midnight. But if again you're focusing these things on where it's more about where the sun is. The lunar cycle, I'm not going to get into that, but so when you're looking for that the middle of sundown to sun up is when you're going for that meridian point. So if you don't know when sundown and sun up is and where the middle of night is, you can hit gallbladder and you may not get a response. So that would put a huge damper in your studies and your confidence of your Dim-Mak skills. So I mean, I'm not saying you need to like, oh, I'm in a fight. What time is it? Where's the sun? No, these are things that you should know. If you were living a more natural lifestyle, you would naturally know when midday is. You would know when you're an hour past midday, or if you had a sundial, you could see exactly. A sundial would be a better way. If you're using Dim-Mak theory, start carrying a sundial and just know where the sun is and what time it is at all times. Know what time sunset is, or know what time sunrise is. And you don't need a sundial. You can just calculate these are the times. And I mean, I'd say like weekly to monthly, you would have to change what meridian you would hit at what time. And it's not impossible. It's all about how much time you have, how dedicated you are to your art, whether you're a healer using the meridian system for, Tui Na or any other type of massage or acupuncture, or if you're a fighter who just likes to stay on the edge and just likes to study these things, you have to know your time of where these things are. And it's actually a combination, to my understanding, of a fullness of the meridian in combination with the pull, the gravitational pull of the sun. I don't, again, guys, when it comes to the moon and sun stuff, I don't know exactly or understand it, but I'm just telling you what I do understand. So this is not like an end all be all. I know a lot of people think that Dim-Mak is this like end all be all. I mean, unless you're like a Tui Na expert who knows how and where exactly to put and pull good and bad bioelectric function, or chi, if you will, in and out of the body. That's a completely different game that you're talking about, though. And I've heard like that's a different practice also. Like you're practicing different things. You'd still know your qigong. I'm not going to get into that though, because I just wanted this to be about time of day. So that's all I know, and I'll show you one more time. This is the chart that I made for the new Dim-Mak time of day theory. And again, it's not new. I just modified it to make sense no matter what version that you're looking at. And I would be very interested to know how many or if others have noticed this yet, and if it is much talked about. But if it's not, and this is actually the first, well, this is dated in time, so I'm digging that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you didn't enjoy it, I hope it was at least informative for you. And thank you so much for stopping by the Broken Buddha. Peace and blessings.